Like JavaScript, PHP has a for loop, and I'm going to take a look at the for loop here. There's also a for each loop. We'll take a look at the for each loop as well. The syntax of the for loop is going to be familiar to you from JavaScript. You have the keyword for, and you set a loop counter variable, initialize that in the first section of the for loop, and then you set the condition at which the for loop should quit. In this case, loop counter is less than 5. If that's not true, then the for statement should quit, and then the increment, usually the increment section of the for loop executed after the loop body is executed. This is going to increment the loop counter with plus plus, the PHP plus plus operator, and so you set the loop counter to 0, then you increment, you keep looping. In other words, while loop counter is less than 5, and at the end of each iteration of the loop, you increment the loop counter by 1. This loop simply prints out, I'm going to do this 5 times, because this is going to loop, this loop is going to loop 5 times, this for loop. You take a look at the results, and there you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in fact, you see that it worked as expected. The for loop in PHP looks just like the for loop in JavaScript. There is, however, a different type of loop as well, the for each loop. We're going to take a look at the for each loop now, and that is, the for each loop is designed to work with collections like arrays. And we'll take a look at the example using an array here. Create an array called ARR, and we're going to use the built-in PHP Array Function to do that. This creates arrays. You just pass to it the elements you want to have in the array, like this: apples, oranges, bananas, and so forth. This creates this array with the elements apples, oranges, and bananas. The for each loop lets you loop over the array. You say as $value. This, you can choose any variable name you want here, and you don't have to use value, but each time through the loop, this variable, in this case we're naming it $value, the value variable will hold the current element from the collection you're looping over. So the for each loop is designed to be used with arrays and other collections, and you can see how it works here. You give the array name, and then you say as, and then a variable name, and each time through the loop, through the for each loop, the variable name will be filled with the current element from the array or other collection, and you say echo current fruit, $value, and through the interpolation, the variable value's value, the value in this variable will be interpolated into the double quoted string here, and you should see current fruit. First time through, you should see apples, and then oranges, and then bananas, and that's the for each loop. And it's nice because it automatically iterates over all the members of a collection, such as an array. And that's nice because you don't have to worry about getting the loop index and the ending condition of a for loop exactly right. You might be off by 1 either way, and if you use a for each loop, it automatically iterates over all the members of the collection automatically, so you don't have to worry about getting the loop index off by 1, which is a frequent problem when you're working with a for loop. And so this is a very nice and handy loop, and as you see how it works, you give the name of the collection, and you say as, and then you give the name of the variable that you want to have filled with the current item from the collection in the current iteration. And the results appear here: current fruit apples, oranges, bananas, and as you see, that follows the array here: apples, oranges, and bananas. So the for each loop, a very useful one for iterating over collections such as arrays in PHP.